Hi everybody, welcome to Chopsticks Alley Talk, episode 2. We are excited to be here, and I'd like to introduce my co-host today, Vivian Nguyen. Please say hi.
Hi everyone, my name is Vivian.
And we are so excited to have a second episode today because of the success we had in the last episode. And I'd like to share a little bit of what Chopsticks Alley is all about for those who are not familiar with us. It's essentially an online publication where we give voices to the Vietnamese American community, and we would like to unite the Vietnamese American community as well as the Asian communities all over the world.
Absolutely.
And Vivian is wonderful because she is our editor for the political arena.
Politics section, and so it's been really incredible during these times to really write about these issues impacting not only the Vietnamese American community, but the Asian American community at large.
And we would like to also thank our sponsors. So Tuxedo Warehouse has been so generous. So for anyone who is tuning in to our live feed today, if you like our live feed, either on Chopsticks Alley page, and then each of our individual pages. So Vivian Nguyen, you have a live feed?
Yeah, Vivian Nguyen with an E, so go ahead and find that as well.
And Ashkara and Jenny Chung and Thomas Bo, if you like any of our live feed, we will make sure that your name is entered into a drawing for, can you tell the audience the prizes?
There's a lot in store, so they will definitely get a lot of discounts.
Yes. What we have is a free tuxedo rental for local residents in San Jose, and also free cufflinks for folks who don't live in the area that are able to come to the store to rent the free tuxedo set. And the set includes everything from shirts to, of course, the whole tuxedo, and shoes as well, and ties. And have you ever had a chance to visit their warehouse?
No, not yet, but I think it's definitely worth the drive, and now gas is relatively cheap, so definitely come out there.
And also for wedding season, it's fantastic. So,
absolutely.
Right? Aren't your friends getting married every weekend?
They are. My bank account with these gifts, but definitely go check it out, save yourself some money.
And they also have alterations as well, so we're very excited. So like our feed on Chopsticks Alley page as well as our individual pages, right? And then we can enter you into the drawing. So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, today we are going to talk about a critical issue, discussing how the African American community and all these violence has been going on, how that can particularly impact the Vietnamese American community, and also the African American community is in alignment with Asian American communities as well.
Yes. And what we'd like to set the tone with is Chopsticks Alley. We are providing a platform where we are sharing with the community our experience and our thoughts, and we have special guests today, Councilmember Ashkar, who will be rejoining us, and also in the green room we have Deputy Chief Phan Ngo, who will be joining us. And what I'd like to also remind everyone is we're not trying to make any statements. We're actually saying we support the Black American community, the African American community.
Absolutely.
And we would like to also support our police officers, right?
Absolutely. And our condolences and sympathies that go out to the shooting today in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Our solidarity is with you.
Yes, thank you so much for that. So let's invite our guests on.
Absolutely.
Ash, please come on in. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to be back.
Coming in, and also Chief Deputy Phan.
Hi.
Great to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
So, okay, we have some questions, so I think I'm going to let you get started.
Absolutely. All right. So as far as what are your perspectives in terms of what is happening to our Black community, and how is it relevant to the Vietnamese and also Asian American community?
You go ahead. You were say something.
Look, well, first of all, I appreciate the condolences and thoughts with what happened in Baton Rouge this morning, and I also appreciate the fact that one of the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement put out a statement today saying that it's a nonviolent movement and they don't condone any violence to anyone, and particularly to law enforcement. It doesn't help any of us to continue to promote violence when we're talking about reducing violence in any one of our communities, right? And so I think in particular with the African American community, I think one thing as Asian Americans, it's important for us to understand, when we come to this country, and obviously we have different stories and different histories. You have the Chinese immigration where they worked on the railroads. We have folks that came to work on the farms. But many of us came after the Civil Rights Movement. And it was the Civil Rights Act followed by, in 1966, the Immigration Act of 1966, that allowed most Asian Americans to migrate here.
So we are indebted to our Black community because they paved the way for Asian communities.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the African American community, the indigenous people in this land, Latinos, I mean, there's a lot of fights, a lot of battles that occurred so that we can come here and live out our American dream, right? And so it's important that, my family left India in 1968. We came here to San Jose in 78. We didn't come to a place that didn't have history or context, and it's our obligation to learn that history and learn the context, learn about African American history and the struggles that community in particular has gone through throughout the history of this nation, and why what's happening with law enforcement is manifesting itself in a very personal way with that community. The problems can be solvable, but we have to all work together, and it starts with educating ourselves.
Right. And what about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, traditionally there's always been tension between the African American community and law enforcement as a whole. And although we made a lot of great strides over the years, you can see there's still a lot of mistrust, especially in light of what happened in Ferguson about 2 years ago, and it's really escalated to this level. So we in law enforcement, we respect the feelings and concerns of Black Lives Matter, and what we want to do is we want to work constructively with Black Lives Matter so that we can move forward as a country. As far as the Vietnamese American community and sort of like how they feel about Black Lives Matter, I haven't heard a lot from our community regarding that, but that doesn't mean that there has been a history of mistrust also between the Vietnamese American community and the police department, because we had a couple of high-profile officer-involved shootings, and it took a lot of engagement, relationship building to get to where we are today, which I think we have a great relationship with our Vietnamese American community.
Great. So would you say then Chopsticks Alley might be the first platform that's actually talking about this from the Vietnamese community?
Oh,
with
absolutely,
this issue?
absolutely.
That's important to us. And our team, when we were coming up with the name for the talk today, it was quite controversial, because for some of us, well, I'll just say me, when I think of Black Lives Matter, I understand it is a movement, but there's so many sensitivities behind calling our talk show that, when we don't really clearly understand or have any involvement in the movement, except we know about it. So we renamed it, right? It was important.
Absolutely. And coming from an student organizing background, just even at Berkeley, there was a critical part of having that kind of presence of an ally, specifically with Black Lives Matter. But we wanted to focus the conversation specifically on how it would impact, or it was relevant and important to the Vietnamese American community.
Yeah. I think our community is so diverse, right? So a lot of older people, culturally, they're more compliant with law enforcement. So if they hear or see things that law enforcement is doing, most likely they're going to support law enforcement. But I also see younger people too getting involved, more questions being asked. And that's great too, because that's what it's all about, diversity, right?
And that leads us into the second question. What have you heard or seen, if any, of injustices that the Vietnamese community or Asian American are experiencing with the police? What do you think? Yeah.
Some of the things I've heard is some of our interactions between Vietnamese community members and our police officers could be better. We could be more courteous. We could be more patient when we explain things to people. Those are things I hear quite often. Just a misunderstanding and just in general interactions, maybe not something serious like a crime against a person, but maybe a traffic accident where perhaps our officers could have been a little bit more courteous in explaining how things are going to work out for them when they're involved in a traffic accident.
Sure, and maybe with the language barrier, it's probably more frustrating for the officer to deal with someone with a language barrier. And someone who doesn't speak English well, it's frustrating for them because maybe they're perceiving it like, you're not treating me the right way.
You hit the nail on the head because of language barrier, so there's that perception, so we have to work on that.
And that's why it's so important that we diversify our police departments, and our police departments look like the community that they serve, it's not just because of language, it's also cultural sensitivity as well, understanding the culture. And that was one of the issues with one of the controversial shootings, was a vegetable peeler versus a knife. I mean, that was a major contention, was that there was a misunderstanding there. And when I used to be a public defender, I remember I had clients in the 1990s that were young Vietnamese men that were involved in gangs, and but they were straight A students. They didn't fit the model and the mold of what the district attorney's office and police departments say, well, this is what a gang member is or should be like. And because of that, not only was their victimization happening that wasn't being addressed, but also the parents didn't even know. And there was because of the generation gap and not understanding what happens out once they leave outside the door, there wasn't an effort to work with the parents and the families to really figure out, okay, how do we deal with this gang problem, which the parents, for the most part, didn't even know what was happening, and law enforcement couldn't identify it as quickly because there wasn't that cultural understanding of how A and B can happen at the same time. When with other communities, they didn't see that type of activity where you have straight A students and people that on the books, on paper, look like they're doing everything right, yet are involved with homicides and burglaries and drug dealing. And so I think that's where it's important that we get that cultural sensitivity so that we can better protect our neighborhoods and our families, but also we can help the parents that may not be able to identify when there's something happening with their child, and we can intervene and make sure the child gets on the right track.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail on its head as well, and I think that's a great way to transition to your next question. And so gang violence is one of the issues. Well, what else has the city or the police department, what are the efforts being done to lead these efforts, to bridge these communities? And what does it mean to be an ally? How can we help?
Yeah. Well, Councilmember Carr mentioned about diversifying our workforce, which we absolutely agree, and we've done that with a strategic plan and reaching out to different communities in our city to help us with our recruiting efforts. But I believe training and setting good policies are equally important. And so with the training piece, we have what we call the implicit bias training. We've invited an expert, a national expert, to come in to train our command officers on how to recognize that all of us have implicit biases and how to recognize those things and to eliminate those biases when we do our work. So we're going to provide training department-wide for everybody, right? We're going to have procedural justice training for everyone. We made policy changes to our use of force, which is something that is of great attention right now in law enforcement. Police use of force, especially against communities of color.
But recently, we also have cameras.
We have the body-worn cameras, which we roll out just a couple of days ago,
Yes.
and that's going to provide trust and transparency for everyone. We have a community advisory board consisting of a lot of community leaders in our city. So anytime we have a critical incident or we roll out a new policy, we always get them involved. And so this is something that we've done a couple of years ago. We didn't wait for these things to happen nationally to start doing these things because we just have a lot of support from our community, so we recognize we have to do these
And then
things.
people that, especially we started the body-worn camera a couple of days ago, I put on Facebook that I put the memo for 2.5 years ago to start that process. That's how long it takes sometimes, but so people don't think that we're just doing it in response to what's happened in the last couple of months. This department on implicit bias is important. It's not about having a few bad apples. The reality is we all are tainted to some extent with biases.
Because we're human.
Because we're human, exactly. And so what the Vietnamese can do, what the Asian American community can do, is to really not, in a meaningful way, reach out to the African American community, Latino community, to sit down to listen to their stories and to say, okay, how can we be part of the solution in working with law enforcement? And say, okay, let's get everyone to the table and let's realize that we are all imperfect as individuals and as a community, rather than putting blame on other people or blaming this officer or that person, whatever you want to say. That doesn't help us move the conversation forward. What helps us moving the conversation forward, recognizing our faults, but also recognizing we can always get better. And that's something that we can do as a community, as a police department, and as activists.
And to Deputy Chief Fan, I wanted to ask, with the incident today that's happening in Baton Rouge, how is that affecting you personally?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, my thoughts and prayers go out to the families of the slain officers and the Baton Rouge community and our nation. For me personally, it is a scary feeling. I mean, you put on a uniform every day, you know that you put your life on the line to serve people, and unfortunately, because of some of these incidents, it's a lot more scary as a police officer nowadays. I mean, that's the reality. But our men and women are brave. I can tell you this much: the day after the Dallas incident, we only had a few people call in sick. You would think that a lot of people would call in sick and not want to come to work, but only a handful of people call in sick, and that just shows you the commitment that our men and women in law enforcement have for serving the public.
Is our police force in San Jose, is it diversified? How?
Do a lot better. We want to do better in some areas, and we'll continue to try to do better.
And we lost a lot of officers in recent years, and a lot of them were part of that diversity, so we have to continue to rebuild, and diversity has to be part of it. And one thing I just want to add about the violence we're seeing perpetrated in our communities is that the guns, we are unique in this world in terms of being a free nation that allows guns to so easily get in the hands of those with mental health issues, those that want to perpetrate violence, domestic violence. There are so many homicides through domestic violence because men have access to guns and they use it against women. And I just want to make that a point because we can't lose sight of this larger issue that may take a generation to solve, but we have to start now.
I think it's wonderful that you're both here with us today. We appreciate you so much, and we hope that when you organize events that you're thinking of to unite the community, to let Chopsticks Alley know, because we certainly want to participate and see what we can do to help the community. And thank you for your services, and we feel safe because you're out there, right?
Of course.
Thank you for having me here today.
And thanks for having this conversation. It's important.
And it's a start.
Yeah,
it's a start.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that was intense for me because I got a chance to watch President Obama's talk on CNN, press news, I guess, conference, and he talked about how it's important to remember that it is never okay to hurt our officers. And it's touching to me because I feel safe because I can call 911. And it's not okay that they get hurt out there. I empathize with our minority community, but we have to remember to stay together. That's the only way we're gonna fight this. So anyways, Jen, come rescue me. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. Well,
So this is Jen Chung, who is our style and life editor.
yes.
So take it away. Jen.
Well, if you guys remember, we, besides this very prevalent topic, we also want to discuss another relevant topic in the Vietnamese community, which is Vietnamese American weddings. But before we dive into that, we also want to thank you, our sponsor, which is Tuxedo Warehouse. They have 2 locations, one in San Jose, one in Milpitas, and they have a special giveaway again this week for us. Last week it was KT Sunstop. If you checked our website, you would have seen the winners. If you are a winner and you haven't heard from us yet, please go ahead and message us. But Tuxedo Warehouse, they're giving away two different giveaways. One is for local winners. If you win, and the way we draw that is that we're gonna put all the names who like the video on the live feeds. We're gonna do a random generator. We're gonna pick 2 winners. Local residents will be able to win one free tuxedo suit rental, and that comes with the whole shebang: the suit, the tie, the shoes, everything to make you look good on your special occasion. For our non-local residents, you're going to be able to get a free cufflink set, which we will send directly to you, and you can also wear on your special occasion. And Tuxedo Warehouse, if you've never been to them, they specialize in all different occasions, and they carry brands like Ralph Lauren, Michael Kors, so many different brands.
And the latest style, and their website is actually tuxedowear, WEAR, house.com. So you can check out everything that they have on there.
Yeah.
Right?
So diving into wedding season now.
So I'm sure because you're a little bit younger than me, all of your friends are getting married, right?
Yeah.
I see it every day on Facebook, someone's getting married.
Yeah. And I think the problem that we face as Vietnamese Americans is this balancing, tradition, balancing what our parents want, and then balancing what we want as Vietnamese Americans. And so when was the last time you've been to a Vietnamese wedding?
I want to say last year, and it was tough because I saw that the couple wanted something else, but to please their parents, they have to do something else, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So for me, there was 2 different weddings. One I went to, it was really American, really grand, and it was really romantic because you could really see that I was focused on the 2 of them. And then the other wedding I went to the following week, they were really stuck because they had to follow what their parents wanted. And unfortunately, that meant Vietnamese entertainers, Vietnamese food, a Vietnamese venue, and it just kind of holds like a different feeling for me. And so like it makes me realize that, you know, when I'm older, what kind of wedding do I want? Like, what do my parents want?
So what kind of wedding do you want? Putting you on the spot.
I think I definitely want an American wedding.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And how do your parents feel about that? Do they even know? They will know now.
Oh, now you know. Hi, Mom. Well, I think it's, for me, balancing it means like maybe having like a tea ceremony in the morning, but everything else, the whole wedding dress and stuff, I want to keep it Americanized. I think it's really much more romantic, and it's just more in tune with how I feel.
Yeah, I empathize with you, because at times I think with parents, we forget that it's really about the kids.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I almost want to shout out to parents, look, once the wedding is over, the only people who really will remember every part of it is the couple.
Yeah.
It's not the guests, it's not even the parents, it's really the couple. And you know, starting out in this life called marriage is very tough. And if you can help your children by being courteous to their needs and letting them have what they want, then it's almost like giving them a gift and putting it in this suitcase for them to carry on into their marriage with much happiness and lots of memories in planning the wedding.
Yeah, and I think, you know, because I asked my mom, I'm like, you know, why is it that so many people have Vietnamese weddings still? And it's because you want to invite everyone. And I think I also want to talk to you about it, that it's a tradition. You know, back in Vietnam, a long time ago, and still today, when they gathered together, it was about raising funds, it was about raising some sort of safety net so that when this married couple, they go on with their lives, they're able to get a house, they're able to have a family.
That's why a lot of the weddings have 500-800 people, and the bride and groom are like, who are these people, right?
Yeah, it'll take hours to go around the whole room.
Yes, and the idea is, and not to downplay it, because it is an important idea, is to give the red envelopes, and that money is not only helping to pay for the wedding, but also to help the couple with maybe a down payment on their home. So that's a good thing. Whereas with American weddings, I remember somebody giving a set of clothes hangers, you know, and yeah, and that's just normal for the American community, but for us, it's like insulting, right?
Yeah, but then now the problem is, okay, you know, like, you know you want it to have it a certain way, but how do you come out to your parents and let them know that, hey, you know, like, I'm not trying to disrespect you in any way, but I want to be happy on my wedding day. Like, how would you come out to your parents like that?
I think it's very tough because parents, Vietnamese parents have a different way of being Asian parents. I would say if you have a good relationship with your mom or dad, to sit them down and tell them exactly how you feel, but do it in a nice way. Like, be respectful and say, you know, tell me what is important for you for the wedding, and I'm going to share with you what I think is important, and maybe there's a way we can work this out, and maybe make them watch this video, and so that way they can see what it's like to be on the other end, being the kids.
Yeah, we want to hear, you know, from the audience, like, have you ever gone through that situation, and if you have, how have you dealt with it? And, you know, my question for you, Tremi, is like, you know, what do you see now that we're kind of blending together the Vietnamese and American culture so that it's kind of like something unique, but at the same time we're holding on to traditions?
I think that the tea ceremony part is very important, and people are keeping that. And let's say a Vietnamese bride or groom marries outside of the Vietnamese, the American or whomever, they also enjoy that tradition. Yeah. And to be able to wear our traditional outfit, I think that's pretty neat to keep.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I love the grand, you know, American hotel instead of the, you know, rotating table with the 10 courses. I don't know if I want that, but although we are Chopsticks Alley, so maybe it's a good thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, for me, I just think it's really about the couple, like you said. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's very hard to please everyone.
Yeah, but, you know, it's important to talk about the topic, and especially with wedding season. So talk about the Tuxedo Warehouse again.
Yeah, so again, you know, we have our special sponsor this week from Tuxedo Warehouse, and they've graciously offered us 2 giveaways, one for local residents, one for non-winners after the show. So don't forget following on the website to see if you're a winner. And, you know, if you are a sponsor and you're interested in supporting Chopsticks Alley and getting to your audience, please also email Trami or I. We'd love to be in touch with you.
Yes, definitely. And also, if you mention Chopsticks Alley when you go rent your tuxedo, if you went 5, the 6th one will be free.
Ooh,
I
all the
know.
weddings this summer.
Right? And they don't have to be part of your bridal party at all. So if you have an uncle who decided to, you know, drive up for the wedding and he doesn't have a tux, then you can get him a tux. And they have sizes galore. I've been in the back of their warehouse. It's unbelievable. Every shade, every size imaginable.
Yeah, so we're really excited. Thank you again for all your support. We're really excited to see you tune in, and if there's any topic that you want us to cover, go ahead and just like our page and let us know.
How are we doing on time with the back crew? So
Shout out to the back crew.
Yes, so we still have time. But thank you so much. So we can continue with the wedding. Actually, what I wanted to talk with you about is, do you think that saving face is important for our community?
It's always there. It's always there whether or not you want it to be. And I think, especially for older generations, it's very important.
Do you think it's valid that the older generation has that view?
To save face?
Because sometimes couples would spend so much money and go into debt just to make sure that they have the wedding that their parents want. Because nowadays, the young people tend to pay for the wedding, when traditionally for Vietnamese, the groom's family helps pay for the wedding, if not pay the whole thing. But now couples are doing it themselves. They are probably fresh out of college. They're trying to save for a house, so they go into major debt just to save face.
Yeah, and this is like something again where not everybody wants, and so I think it's because like one person does it, the other person feels that they do it, and somewhere along the line, it's up to us to break that tradition. Because it's the most meaningful wedding doesn't always have to be the most expensive, the most luxurious, and I think for our parents, they kind of have that in their head. And again, they want what's best for us too, because they've grown up with their own struggles, their own hardships, and they probably never had their own dream wedding. And for us to be in America and to have that opportunity, they want us to have that.
So they're living vicariously, kind of, through us.
In a way.
Right? And my thought is, hey, you had your chance. This is our chance, right? That's my belief, but it's hard to explain that to the older generation.
Yeah, like I asked my mom the other day, I was like, hey, Tremi and I are doing this topic, and, I want to, like, let you know, or ask you, like, how you feel about this. Like, of course, my mom, she's a little bit more Americanized, she's a little bit more lenient on my opinions, on my choices, but at the end of the day, she said, like, it's your day. You're going to be living like 50 years from now, you're going to look back, and do you want to remember seeing yourself happy or being upset because you were wanting to make someone else happy?
Right. I think recently you shared with me that a friend of yours was coming to you in tears because she's not able to.
Yeah, I mean, this is a special day for her. She's been looking forward to it with her fiance for years, and her parents weren't as lenient as mine, and they wanted, the whole Vietnamese shebang, like I always say.
Yeah.
And for her, she wants to please her parents, and so now she's going down that route, and it's really upsetting for me as a friend to see that happen to her. But what can you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for us today. I think we're out of time, but please tune in next time. And remember, Tuxedo Warehouse, thank you so much for sponsoring our spot. And for everyone who likes our Facebook feed, you're going to be entered into a drawing for a free tuxedo set and also cufflinks.
Yeah, and don't forget, we want to hear from you, so if you have any topics you want us to cover, go ahead and let us know. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Bye, everybody.